Your Western Boulevard Kmart is NC State. We have the largest selection of NC State gear off campus at unbeatable prices. Our pharmacy is one of the closest to campus. We've got athletic gear, NC State stuff, sporting goods, NC State stuff, residence hall supplies, NC State stuff, electronics, games and gaming gear, groceries, school supplies. And you know, we are NC State. There's smart and there's Kmart smart.
Welcome to the last episode of the season of Wolfpack Hockey with Mike Gazillo. I'm your host, Chuck Givens, brought to you by Kmart, as always, with Coach Mike Gazillo. Coach, how you doing?
Doing well. How about you?
All right. Let's just dive right into the questions. So the big thing is the season's over. We just had the ACC tournament. Finished second to Georgetown, losing 3-2. Kind of a disappointing. Sure, it should always be disappointing because we always want to go out to win, right?
Correct.
Talk about that game. You'd said that if you were going to lose, you wanted it to be close. It seemed like it was.
I mean, I really wouldn't mind a close game winning, to be honest with you. I mean, it's better than like a 7 or 8-0 game.
Sure.
You know, it was. I mean, we started out, we were all over Georgetown, and they got a really good team. You know, no doubt about that. They came in tied for first with us for the season. Our only ACC loss was to them earlier on. We lost 7-2 or something like that to them. I don't even recall. But you know, they're a very good team. Early on, like I said, we were all over them, and they got an early power play goal, set us back a little bit. But the game was a lot of end to end. There were times where they were all over us, and then there were times where we were all over them. So it was really a very entertaining game. A lot of the kids' parents showed up.
Oh, great!
So yeah, we had a lot
trip.
of families there. So the guys had a lot of good support. And it was a good weekend. You know, it would have been nicer to win the gold, but you know, I have to go back and get some unfinished business next year.
Sure. So to make the tournament final, you had a bit of an offensive explosion against Elon, starting out winning 9-2. We had talked about Elon before and their abilities throughout the year. You guys have played them. I think that's the third time you had played them this year. You said that when you had last talked that you were worried about Elon because you weren't sure what type of team. You know, they're kind of new with a new coach, I think you said, and now they're just starting to get their feet under them. What do you think led to the offensive numbers in that game?
Well, I think just the reality of someone's tournament's going to end tonight. Do you want to come all this way this season to have it end tonight? And we obviously know the answer is no. In order to play for that gold medal game, you've got to win not only the game, but what I say is we got to win every period. And you got 9 periods of hockey left in our season. So this isn't a situation where we can hold up weight, we can get them next year. It's not a marathon at this point, this is the sprint. So we went out, and yeah, I mean, I had some concerns because we had played them early on. We won 8-0, and then we played them a couple of days later, and it was 6-4. Paul's got a lot of, you know, he's got a lot of freshmen, and he was having some issues with some guys showing up and things like that. But, you know, when he had everybody together, his team was a lot different. We hadn't seen him in a while. We were playing good, and there's always that element of, do you take for granted something that had happened in the past? And so I was really important for me to try to eliminate that from their mindset, you know, the games that we had played. So it was just, if you guys want to continue playing and you want to play for gold, you got to leave it on the ice every single shift. And that's really just what they did, you know, encourage the shots on goal and encourage, you know, the strong defensive play. And, I mean, they did everything they were asked to do. I mean, by this point, they know what they need to do. I just sort of reiterate some things, but they did everything they needed to do.
Definitely. I like the idea of saying that you've only got 9 periods of hockey left. When you can count it on 2 hands, it really is do or die.
Yeah, and between every period, it was okay, guys. Now we're down to 8. You know, so
right.
I mean, we just kept reminding ourselves that the season's getting shorter, and we don't have that much time left. So what do you got left to go out on that high note?
That's some great coaching right there.
No, well, I don't know.
So the next game that you played was against Duke.
Yes.
Another pretty comfortable team. You beat them 5-2. Talk a little bit about that game.
Well, obviously we'd had some pretty one-sided games against them. And went out on the ice. I had talked to Brent and Bill, their coaches, and, you know, before the game, I get along pretty well with them. And got out, walked onto the bench, and I turned around and I looked, and I had never seen so many Duke guys at one time. He actually had his whole team. And I looked, and I was like, oh, he hasn't been playing with his whole group, you know, for various reasons. Totally legitimate, you know, but for various reasons.
What kind of game is this going to be?
This is going to take on a little bit of a different look. And, I mean, the thing about Duke, I mean, they are just relentless. They just, no matter what the score is, they are just relentless.
Keep grinding.
And they give you fits at times. And going back to last year, we had played them the regular season, and we had done fairly well, and then we wound up playing them for the bronze in the ACC, and we wound up having to win that game in overtime. So I know what they're capable of doing in playoffs, and I know what he's capable of getting out of them when they have their whole team. And so, yeah, it was a little bit of a different dynamic in that game.
So would you say that the score doesn't exactly reflect the type of game that it was?
5-2. You know, yeah, I guess that's an accurate statement. I guess that's an accurate statement. But it was a good game. It was a good middle game, if that makes any sense. It was a good middle game,
yeah, absolutely.
You know, for us.
So going on to Georgetown, Virginia played Georgetown in the Friday night game, but then lost to Duke Saturday. You would have thought that had favored NC State in the final. But talk about the importance of match strengths of teams against each other. You know, kind of how do you match up against a team like Georgetown, a team that's you have history against?
Well, I think the matchup between Brad's team and our team is pretty good. I definitely was not expecting a little bit of a lopsided game like we had them the first time. They were not expecting that. At least I know in my conversation with Brad prior to the game, we had talked at the coaches meeting, and then we had talked a little bit before the game, and they weren't expecting that type of a game. He's been watching. He saw some of the scores that we've been putting up, and he's heard from some of the teams that we were playing. You know what we were doing. You know, he did his homework. You know, it was a tight game. I mean, I saw the end of that with the third period and then the overtime of that Virginia-Georgetown game. It was an afternoon game, and it was their first game.
Right, because they have the bye.
Because they had the bye. Because by them beating us, that's how they wound up with the bye. So going into our game, and then us having played 2 games already, I don't necessarily know that either team had any kind of advantage or disadvantage, because this is what it all boiled down to. This is what it was all about, and both teams wanted it, which is obvious from the score and the type of game it was. And so I think sometimes that stuff just takes care of itself. Yeah. You know, the guys aren't concerned about how many. Some guys like to play a little bit more because they feel like they're still in a flow, especially if they're playing well. And other guys, you know, wouldn't mind just going in and having the one game and being a little more rested. Or if you had a guy with an injury, maybe you got another day or something like that. So I don't personally read too much into that extra game or not. I think when it gets down to that gold medal game, everyone's giving everything they got.
There's no post game. No one ever says, "Oh, we lost because they had one more day of rest."
Yeah.
It's always the pregame.
Yeah, definitely that's the case. And you know, in all the games, especially towards the end, we just shorten the shifts. Just go out, play hard. 20 seconds is fine. Normally we like to keep them 30, 40 seconds. If you go out and you go hard for it, just come off. There'll be plenty of ice time. Let somebody go. And so you get your chances to get your rest, when it's needed.
The final record, this is pretty impressive, 17, 10, and 1. That kind of odd little tie in there. Are there any points that stuck out more than others over the course of the season? Any memorable moments, memorable games, memorable anything, really? Conversations, team talks, before the game, after the game, during the game. Anything like that?
It's always nice when you can give away a puck for the guy's first goal. That's kind of always a neat thing, because you do it in the locker room after the game, and the guys are they'll give you a good round of applause, so it's good team building right there. Yeah. Sometimes you go out, or I don't do this, but I know there are coaches that number their pucks. Sometimes it's done for like a chuck-a-puck kind of reason. Mm-hmm. So when we were playing in the Russell tournament, and that was memorable in the sense that it wasn't a great memory for us, because it kind of blew up a little bit with the other teams. But during the game against Charlotte, Andrew Cook scored his first goal. So I think Matt Velasco came up and said, hey, that was Cookie's first goal. So they got the puck and they gave it to me. And when they did, I just happened to look at it, and there was a number 20 written on it. And I thought, Stephen Russell tournament, that's Stephen's number. So I thought that was a memorable thing. And we made mention of it in the locker room. Obviously Andrew didn't know him or anything like that, but I just thought for his tournament to have scored with that puck, I thought was a interesting thing.
That's got to be, that's a great moment.
Yeah, it is.
That's a great one.
The senior night game, all four of those guys they were on fire.
They were.
They all had great games. Yes, I mean, that was the third game against Charlotte, and the other two was 1 win, 1 loss, and they were close games, and that was a close game, and that was a good way for them to go out. I know they were really feeling good about themselves. They really wanted that game, and that was sort of a test in their own minds amongst themselves to see, hey, are we ready for that ACC tournament next weekend? Where do we stack up? And so that was a real important thing for us. And I'd say another key memorable time for us was what I would call the way Tyler Cloutier had changed his game from early on towards the end of the first semester and all the second semester. He had a little bit of penalty issue early on, and I'm not necessarily saying I thought everything was deserved, but he's a good player. He's a fierce competitor, and there were some times where maybe he retaliated and he shouldn't have, and so we had talked about it, and he really changed his game around. He really matured, and he put the team first. And I could see there were times where guys would give him a cheap shot, and instead of retaliating, he just took the high road and skated away. And so I kind of joke around with him at times, but I took the grease board and I would put the letter I and then like a division line over the letter E, and asked him what it stood for. And it stands for intelligence over emotion. And you need to keep your emotions in check, because you'll wind up hurting the team or yourself. And so we kind of talked about that a little bit. But I mean, he got a lot of looks from around the league, and like I said, he really changed his game around. And things like that are really good, because the other guys, especially the younger guys, and we got a lot of them, kind of feed off of that. So that was good. Well,
speaking of the old versus the new, you're letting go of 4 seniors this year.
Yeah.
Talk about their leadership. You've been with them for a long time. How have you seen them grow over the course of you being their coach? Do you have any special moments with them? Do you remember maybe their first game, first shift, first goal, things like that?
I don't know that I could say that I remember too much of that. I know that Nick was always kind of a leader when I got there. He's the oldest of the guys, and he's pretty quiet. But whenever like I would ask him about something or I needed like advice or opinion, or he always has, a good mature way of looking at things. Obviously, he's a very good player. He ran the Chicago Marathon this year. In fact, he did. Yeah. I think that was the only thing I've ever seen him miss since I've been around. Mike's definitely a more vocal leader in the locker room and on the bench and stuff, but he keeps things under wraps pretty well. A lot of times I'll go in the locker room between periods, and I usually give them some time, and more times than not, it's him that's talking. I mean, they're all got something to say, but he usually has his finger on the pulse of the team. So they're going to need some locker room leadership moving forward. Alex Okawita was our treasurer, which is the lousiest job. I always said he's got the worst job on the team, keeping track of money, running down, sending out. It's very important. Very important. And again, very reliable, going to club sports and dealing with club sports and all like that. So, yeah, I'm definitely going to miss having him. And Matt Velasco is, what can you say? The guy gives everything he's got every single game. Play offense, play defense, play offense and defense in the same game, not complain, just has a great sense of humor. They're all good guys. They're all definitely going to be missed.
Seems like they all bring something very different that kind of combined to equal a very great leadership on that team.
Yeah. Matt is just leading by example, if nothing else. Is a big plus. Like again, we had a lot of new guys this year, so looking at that and seeing that, you hope that as they mature and continue on their years, that they see it and they feed off of it.
So with that being the case, how do you fill the void in production and leadership with these guys? That's an easy question to ask, probably a tough one to answer, of course. But do you see any players maybe that like you said, that could fill in those specific types of roles, like an on-ice leader, a locker room leader, a new treasurer, or someone reliable, dependable, and kind of a Renaissance man, a Swiss Army knife?
Well, Alex Ord is going to take over the treasurer's duties. So I fully expect that he's going to do a good job, just like Okie did for us. He's a very responsible kid. I know him for a few years, from junior Hurricane years. So I really have no worries there. We lost some scoring, especially with Mike and Nick gone, but we had no problem 3 lines deep putting the puck in the net this year when we were on. Yeah. So, there's going to be a couple of spots to fill on the lines, and there are a few guys that are ready to do that. And, I don't know exactly what I've got coming in for next year. So I think the core of the freshmen or the new players that we had this year are gonna do a good job of filling in, and we'll see who the natural leaders are as far as some of these things go, because they tend to come out. As far as like new captains, I've got some ideas of who I'd like to use, but probably nothing I'll share at this particular
Keep it under wraps for right now.
Yeah, they'll hear from me probably in August. Yeah. As far as that goes about that.
And we were talking a little bit earlier that a few of you guys a few of your guys are actually going to represent NC State in the All-Star game.
Yes.
For the ACC tournament, for the ACC League. Can you maybe talk a little bit about that?
Well, the All-Star game is run every 2 years. We are sending Nick Camaris, Billy Manuela, Chris Nelson, Tom Stryker, and Tyler Cloutier. So we've got 5 solid guys going up. I saw the roster for the team, the other schools, and they look like they've got a very competitive team. John from George Washington is coaching it, and actually Mike Wally, who is the new commissioner, is going to be the assistant coach for it, which I think is really good, because I know Mike's got some coaching experience, but it'll give him a chance to talk to the guys and to interact with the guys a little bit. And, he's a pretty hands-on guy, and I think the guys will will like having him around. So I think that's actually a good thing.
What's is it the standard All-Star format, kind of East versus West or North versus South?
No,
in this case?
there's a couple of different. I can't honestly say what the divisions are. I got an email today, and I basically just sent that out to the guys. But I think it's a 3-game guarantee or a 4-game guarantee. So there's going to be plenty of hockey, and it's all like high caliber. So it's going to be a really good time. It's up in Westchester, Pennsylvania. It's where they have it every year. It's a great facility up there. So I think we're well represented, and definitely. I'm proud of those guys for stepping up and getting up there to play. It's going to be good. Playing
with the best of the best going to help them out coming next season. Have
absolutely.
That experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
So looking ahead, how do you feel about going into next season?
Well, you know, like I said, I've got some scoring concerns and I've got some defensive concerns. But having said that, I do feel that I've got enough guys on that team that without Mike and Nick, there's going to be some more opportunities for some other guys to get a little more ice time and be productive. People that I've talked to as far as new recruits coming in, a lot of guys sound good. I won't know until I really see them in August, you know, what they're actually capable of doing. Defensively, I mean, we're solid. We're solid with the guys coming back. I'd like to pick up 1 or 2 more. I have had about 6 defensemen contact me, and I think we're looking at 7 or 8 goalies right now.
Oh, my.
But last year I had 7 expressed interest, and 5 actually showed up to tryouts. So, again, and actually 2 or 3 of them haven't gotten into school yet. So they probably won't know till the end of this month if they're getting in. Fairly good pedigrees on them. But again, you know, we'll see what they do when they get out on the ice, you know.
Everything looks good on paper.
Yeah, it looks... Yeah, it's promising right now. Yeah, you know, great. For what I'm losing, it's promising, but, you know, we'll have to see.
And you medaled, I think it's now 3 straight years in the ACC tournament in some cases, right? So got to keep that streak going, too.
Yeah.
It's important.
Yes.
So let's just get right into the rapid-fire questions, as we always do at the end of these episodes. So if you had your chance, would you take the opening position at Boston University now that the coach is retiring after 40 seasons? Would you take it? It's Boston U.
I don't know. Yeah, I guess the most logical answer would be like, yeah, take it. How could you not? I think I don't really obviously know what's going on. They haven't really called me to fill me in on anything.
Of course.
But, you know, if it's not internal and it's an external guy, it's going to be tough. Well, the universities, I would think, they're going to have a little bit of flexibility, because it's going to be a while before he gets his own type players in. Every coach has their own way of doing things. And Jack Parker obviously is one of the legends in college hockey, but somebody else is going to come along and try to establish his own legacy, and he's going to do it by putting his own players and establishing his own way of playing the game and his own systems and everything. So sometimes it takes a little time to get that all in place, and it's not necessarily as easy as just going up and saying, "Up, be you, name's on the door, you know, let's go out." So that would be a serious. I don't know. I can't say I wouldn't love the opportunity, because it'd be crazy to say no, but
State's good.
That's a tough tough shoes to fill.
Oh yeah, definitely. You know, that's kind of their bread and butter over at Boston. So, you know, they wouldn't take that decision lightly in any case. The second question is, visor or cage?
Visor.
Visor. Why visor?
Just always liked it better.
No need for a cage, yeah.
You know, I remember having the white cage and putting like black Sharpie on the inside so that it cut down on seeing the bar and stuff like that. Altering the cage a little bit, which is illegal, but I can't say I never did that.
Right, of course.
But then I went to a visor, and I I just liked it better.
And now that the season's pretty much over, you got a little bit of time to relax and kind of recharge your batteries for next year. You got any plans for the off season during the summer or anything like that?
Well, right now I'm in the process of scheduling for next year.
Any teams you can talk about, or any new teams?
I know that we're going to play University of Delaware, and we're playing Navy. Navy may be getting into the ACC next year.
Interesting.
So we're heading up there to play them. Talked to Liberty about playing in the tournament there in November. Talked to UNC Charlotte's running the tournament in November as well that we are playing in. They're playing in ours. Now, I've talked to Clemson, talked to University of Tennessee. I mean, we've talked to a few teams outside of the ACC, but haven't really finalized a whole lot of it yet.
It's a lot of talk right now. Yeah.
It's a lot of talk, and it just sort of takes time with the email trail, who gets back to you quick, and then all of a sudden it just like sort of falls in, and I've got a schedule, and we're good to go. So I like to try to get a trip down south to Florida if I can.
Why not?
So contacted a couple of teams, so I'm waiting to hear from them. Maybe take the guys down there over fall break.
Oh yeah,
Get the golf clubs in the bus. I know they could fit.
Yeah, you can find some time down there. You're going to be down there a while, I'm sure.
Yeah. A trip like that, we're not going to take overnight. So,
no, of course not. Take some time for yourself.
Yeah,
you deserve it. You deserve it.
Thanks.
Well, that'll do it for this season's run of episodes of Wolfpack Hockey with Mike Gazillo. I'm Chuck Givens. This is Mike Gazillo. Thank you, Coach, very much.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for doing this. I really appreciate it.
No problem. As always, this is brought to you by Kmart, and we'll see you guys for next season. Thanks for watching.
Your Western Boulevard Kmart is NC State. We have the largest selection of NC State gear off campus at unbeatable prices. Our pharmacy is one of the closest to campus. We've got athletic gear, NC State stuff, sporting goods, NC State stuff, residence hall supplies, NC State stuff, electronics, games and gaming gear, groceries, school supplies. And we are NC State. There's smart and there's Kmart smart.